Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Geek-Stew, and today, guys, welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy Theories with Ike. That's right. So today, guys, we have another great theory to give you guys, of course. That scared the shit out of me. I have little background. I changed my background just because in this room I work in normally. This window's here, and I was like, oh, that might be a pretty cool backdrop, and I saw a branch move like in the upper corner there. Scared the shit out of me. I thought it was like Slender Man or something, but I'm really hoping I don't see nobody walk behind me, because that'd be pretty spooky. This is like on the side of the house, so there definitely shouldn't be people walking back there. Anyways, welcome to Geek-Stew. Sorry that I immediately started this by scaring myself, but that's fine. So normal stuff, nothing really crazy has been going on here lately. Nothing really to report out of the norm. Let's see. Only other thing I could think of to let you guys know before we get started today is check out the Listen to Their Screams podcast. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why are you promoting another podcast? So I'm on another podcast called Listen to Their Screams. You can find it on any media site as Listen to Their Screams, or you can find it, I think it's at Listen to Screams on social medias. We dropped our first episode, actually, the day before this episode goes up on what's today? So the 23rd is when this video goes up. The 22nd, we dropped our first episode, and our plan is to drop a video every Thursday. Dave Dynasty is the who I'm doing the podcast with. Dave typically drops it in the morning, so you can expect it typically in the mornings on Thursday, maybe Friday, if, for instance, one of the movies or shows that we want to review on that podcast comes out that Thursday or something. But basically, Listen to Their Screams is just going to be a fun podcast where Dave and I, who both love horror films, horror movies, horror genre, horror video games, basically anything horror, we're going to take the time to sit down, talk about all the different types of horror content, and we're actually going to have a really good time doing it. So, feel free to check it out. I would really greatly appreciate it, of course. The podcast episodes aren't that long, maybe an hour, so it's pretty easy listening, nothing crazy. But yeah, check that out if you want to. If you don't, I understand. I will link it down in the description down below, that way you guys don't have to go too far. But yeah, I appreciate it. But let's go ahead and get into the content for today, the conspiracy theory content, if you will. Today we are talking about the Bloop. So you're probably thinking to yourself, alright, what the hell is the Bloop? Well, so glad that you asked. The Bloop was a noise that we recorded in 1997, and by we I mean the NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They recorded an ultra-low frequency, high-amplitude sound underwater. So you're probably thinking to yourself, so what? Loud sound underwater. Yeah, what? So what? The so what is what caused this sound. So initially, we thought that it was some huge marine animal that caused the sound. The NOAA's Christopher Fox indicated that the audio profile actually matched that of some form of animal origin. The reason that this is important is because the sound was much louder than any sound that any normal animal that we would normally run into would make. Obviously, if you were able to hear it at that magnitude underwater, it's pretty intense. So you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, why does this matter, right? Why does it matter that this sound was recorded? Why does it matter that an animal could have generated this sound? Like, why? So when you take into consideration the magnitude of the sound, right? The NOAA basically got the sound. They found it on whatever device that they used to record it, and they said to themselves, okay, so this sound was so fucking loud, something that is over 250 feet in length would have had to have made the sound. You're probably thinking to yourself, okay, how am I, a normal person, supposed to know that's bad? Aren't there really large sea animals? You're absolutely right. But for reference, just to kind of tie this off in a nice little bow, for reference, the largest sea animal is the Antarctic blue whale, which is about 100 feet in length, and that's actually rounding up. I think it's said to like 98 feet in length, was the largest. So rounding up, about 100 feet in length. So whatever animal would have had to have made this noise would have had to have been the length of 2.5 Antarctic blue whales long, which is absolutely fucking crazy if you think about it. So to kind of put this into perspective, first things first, we would have to assume that this gigantic animal somehow exists, right? It exists undetected, and it makes this large, just absolutely magnificent sound underwater that we are able to record at very great distance, mind you. And then we said, you know what? Let's call it the Bloop. So after talking about this magnificent animal that made this magnificent sound, I have to tell you why it's wrong now. So obviously this theory is from the iceberg. It's called the Bloop on the iceberg, and this is one of those pretty cut and dry theories that yeah, it's not right. I'm sorry. So basically, you may guess, the hypothesis that this was some kind of behemoth that made this sound is false, or is it? I'm just kidding. So typically in this situation, we can reasonably say that if an animal is that large, right, we would know about it, right? Even if, okay, but before I say that, it would be seriously difficult for us not to know about a monster like this. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of our oceans are unmapped, and really, the ocean's kind of a mystery, right? There's a lot of undiscovered and unexplored areas, and which is great. It's really cool, but there would be some kind of proof that an animal this large would exist. Basically, there's actually a lot of talk about like the megalodon, right? So a lot of people like to kind of theorize that the megalodon isn't extinct. If you don't know, megalodon is like an ancestor of the shark. Huge motherfucker. And don't get me wrong, it's a great theory. I love talking about the megalodon. I think I've even talked about it in a theory before. And as cool as that is, and as cool and as great, and as much as I would love the megalodon to be real, I know that it's not, right? You and I, just between me and you, we know that the megalodon, while it was real at one point, it's affirmatively extinct. Obviously we have sharks and stuff like that. And hell, there may even be some sharks that we haven't even discovered yet from different parts of the ocean that may be pretty big. But the megalodon is extinct. And that being said, there would be some kind of proof that an animal that is 250 feet long exists, right? Because typically, how we know that some larger animals exist that maybe we haven't actually spotted yet is we typically can see so by different patterns and hunting patterns and remains. If you see a really large like animal that normally you think is like an apex predator that's eaten in half, then you'd probably say to yourself, there's a pretty good guess that something bigger than that animal was around to eat it. So to kind of, talk a little bit more about this, obviously we do, we're moving on from the megalodon, guys, but we know that they don't exist anymore, unfortunately, and all that. But so now we have to kind of talk about what made this sound, right? We can affirmatively say it wasn't a big animal, right? There's really no proof to kind of affirm that. There's nothing that we can really say for sure that it was an animal. And initially we thought that it resembled an animal sound based off the sound profile, but in later years it's kind of been debunked. Actually in 2012 we kind of came to the likelihood that it wasn't. So with that in mind, we have to say what could make the sound that was not an animal, and also something that's not man-made, because nothing man-made that we know of could have done this, like a ship exploding or a bomb. So what can make something this loud of a sound, right? So in reality, the truth is really boring. 2012, we kind of came to believe that the sound was generated from non-tectonic cryosysms, or something like that. I don't know how the fuck that word's pronounced. Anyways, that originate from glacial movements from ice calving or seabed gouging by ice. So basically, it's an ice earthquake that's not an actual earthquake, and it was caused by glaciers either just falling apart or icebergs moving from deep water to shallow water, and they hit the seabed. So if all of that didn't make sense to you, the long story short is big ice make big noise. So with all that in mind, moving into final thoughts here. It's a really cool theory. The Bloop is interesting. It's also one of those cool things because, like, it was a theory before we even really thought of theories, because this was back in like 97, right? The concept of a conspiracy theory in today's climate versus then was a lot different. But you know what? I low-key love ocean-based theories. They're super spooky. I definitely have, I would say, a touch of thalassophobia, which is I don't really like deep bodies of water that don't have like a clear bottom. You know, and the thought of something being so big or existing in such a large body of water like the ocean, like a big fish like that exists, definitely makes me want to tear my skin off. But very cool theory, very interesting from a science perspective too, because it's really cool to see a theory evolve. You know, like I said, we were like, okay, at first we heard this sound and we're like, wow, some kind of fucking monster made this noise, and oh, you know, actually it was just some iceberg that rubbed against the ground and, you know, was just super loud or something. Or you know what? Maybe this was maybe, guys, put your tinfoil hats on. Maybe this was a plot to hide the real culprit. You want to know who the real culprit is? You guessed it. Jewish space lasers. I'm totally kidding. Fox News, please don't repost that. Let's close out this video before I create another headline and get canceled. I guarantee somebody out there is going to be like, he might be onto something with those lasers.
No, he's got a point.
Anyways. Alright, sorry that this video was a little bit shorter than normal. This was a pretty quick theory, pretty straightforward theory, honestly. This is one of the more straightforward theories on the iceberg. It's called the Bloop. Pretty straightforward origin, pretty straightforward evolution, pretty straightforward answer. Unless, of course, they're trying to hide something, in which case I don't have any idea what they'd be trying to hide, unless they were actually... There was something I saw that was like, hey, what if they're like testing out, you know, underwater like bombs, or, you know, and we just happened to hear it or something like that, and we weren't supposed to hear it, and so they kind of like buried it, and they're like, you're like, oh, it was just glaciers. That was something I did see, and I mean, in reality, if that was the case, I mean, I don't think don't get me wrong, I understand why the military would want to hide something like that, but I definitely feel like that's one of those things that is, you know, it's one of those pick your battle moments. Like, I don't think anybody's going to really jump the gun about you making bombs, because a lot of people don't care. But anywho, cool theory, good times. As we close out the rest of the video here, I want to go ahead and pitch again. Check out the Listen to Your Screens podcast. It is up on all the great platforms out there. I won't even go into all of them. Just check the link down below if you'd like to give it a look. I would appreciate the support. I still intend to obviously make videos on this channel every week, but I wanted to also expand and do a podcast. I used to be involved with the Dave Dynasty Show wrestling podcast, Wrestling Nostalgia. But obviously, you know, with me doing this and trying to venture in other things, you know, that's kind of taken a back seat. But the podcast for the horror content, you know, that's right up my alley. I love horror content. You know, I used to do a lot of stuff on here that was horror related, but I realized that over time that my time spent on this channel is often maybe better utilized in other aspects, such as conspiracy theories. Seems to be pretty popular. I like doing them. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and end it off there. I got some stuff I got to do today. Should be fun. But go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social medias. All of it is linked down below. And if you'd like, leave a comment. Let me know what theories you want to see covered next. Let me know what concepts or ideas or things that you'd like to see covered, because I love to cover different theories and I love to take viewer suggestions. I oftentimes will use your suggestions because it helps me to decide what to cover. It's absolutely a lot of fun. But anyways, I'll go ahead and give you guys a big old stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay awesome, and we will see you in the next one. See ya.